You had Senator Mitch McConnell, the minority leader over in the Senate, weighing in on this just this week, saying this is not a good idea. This is not good for the country. He said, I said this during the Trump 2 impeachments, that this was going to be taking us down a slippery slope. And it's not good for the country to be doing impeachment of this guy, impeachment of that guy. Kevin McCarthy's only saying an inquiry, like sort of figuring out whether we want to proceed with articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. So where do you stand on it?
So I've said this a few times on various shows. It's my opinion that even politically, this might not be the smartest move for us to impeach Joe Biden. And I say that because this is the worst approval rating that we've had for a president in modern history. We want this guy to run against the GOP nominee in 2024. And we want him to be as wounded as possible. And I don't want to rally the troops around him. With that said, I got to say, he's done enough. He has earned impeachment. And at some point, we as a country have got to look at this corrupt administration, this corrupt Biden family. And at some point, we got to say, maybe it may not be in our best interest politically. Maybe it might not be in our best interest, as Leader McConnell was saying, to continue to divide the country. But then at some point, we are seeing millions and millions of dollars being funneled through this family, through Joe Biden's son, by using his influence and literally peddling our country away to other countries. At some point, enough is enough. And if articles of impeachment are brought to the floor, Wesley Hunt will be a strong yes.
So let's talk about it, because yesterday, James Comer, head of the Oversight Committee, who's been all over this, and thank God, because this needs to be exposed. Whether you love Joe Biden or you don't, this needs to be exposed, showing that by his tally, the number's now up to $20 million in payments from foreign sources to the Biden family and their business associates. Most of this was during his term as vice president. Payments from Russia, from Ukraine, from Kazakhstan. And this is, so if you take, let's table the FBI Form 1023, which said Joe Biden got a $5 million bribe from the Ukrainians to get that prosecutor off of Burisma's back. And Hunter was on that board. And not to mention a $5 million bribe to Hunter as well, alleged. Let's table that.
Yes.
They haven't been able to prove it yet. The memo itself says they'll never be able to prove it. It says that the payments were made in such an obscure way. Good luck finding them. But if you look at what we do know, Representative, I'm curious, because we know that millions of dollars, the IRS whistleblower said it was over 17 million. Now Comer's saying it's 20 million that went to the Bidens, Hunter, and other family members during Joe's vice presidency from these foreign companies who are paying for nothing other than access. Hunter has no skills. He has no, Jim Biden
Zero.
Was providing no
Zero
services.
skills.
So it's truly it's just access. So we know that happened. But it all happened while he was vice president, not president. So how do we impeach him for it?
So even though it may have happened while he was a vice president, what we do know is that Hunter Biden has continued to use his name and use his family to funnel money to his family. Basically, Hunter Biden has been his errand boy for the past, 6, 7, probably longer than that, probably for the past 20 years, even while he was a senator. Your question is very interesting, though, in terms of him being the vice president, and is that an impeachable offense? I would like to think that this just didn't stop when he was the vice president. I would like to think that over the course of the past few years, this behavior has continued. And I think if we just look a little bit deeper, we're going to find even more nefarious dealings with Joe Biden while he was the current president of these United States of America. But what's really frustrating to someone like me is to think that we have a family that we know for a fact has gotten millions of dollars from a Ukrainian national energy company, Burisma. And now we are giving the Ukrainian government hundreds of billions of dollars of our tax-paying money. And if we don't think that that's a conflict of interest, and now we are now entering the realm of this being an issue of national defense, then I really don't know what is. We've seen a smoking gun. We already have the receipts. And look, if this is not about actually introducing articles of impeachment, okay, that's fine. It still is up to us on the Judiciary Committee. It's up to us, we in the halls of Congress, to make sure that the American people are well aware of what this president has done to this country, well aware of his son's actions, and to make sure that we decide very, very cautiously and very, very carefully in 2024. This is we the people. Now you know everything about the Biden family. Please choose wisely.
Because you got Joe Biden, according to these allegations, his family at least, taking millions from these Ukrainian oligarchs. And now we've got, as you point out, all this funding of Ukraine. You've got the relationship with the Chinese and the total disinterest in pursuing anything with respect to their spying on us or their spy balloons, not to mention the origins of COVID. And then you have this Russian oligarch's wife. She was the former first lady of Moscow, Yelena Baturina. And we knew this before, but there's an interesting sequence on this, so follow me on it. It's not that Joe Biden's going easy on Russia. We all know, he's on the Ukrainian side in that whole battle. This particular woman who gave $3.5 million to one of Hunter Biden's shell companies, $3.5 million back in 2014 when Joe was vice president, she managed to escape Barack Obama's sanctions on Russia after they annexed Crimea in 2014, and she managed to avoid President Biden's broader sanctions against Moscow's business elite and oligarchs after their invasion of Ukraine. This woman, that was a full dragnet he laid down, Biden did, on the Russian oligarchs after they invaded Ukraine, but not this lady who had given his son $3.5 million. And while we don't have proof Biden cashed in any of those checks, we do have the Hunter laptop talking about how 10% goes to the big guy.
The big guy, yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes on Judiciary Committee, we talk about a two-tier justice system. Ma'am, I cannot believe by the way, you've done this perfectly. You have laid out the case as to what's wrong with this family perfectly. And thank you so much for this. Could you imagine if this were anyone else? Could you imagine if this were Donald Trump Jr.? Could you imagine if this were any other former president, what would be happening right now, not just to his family, but to the president himself? This is absolutely insane. And the American public is sick of this two-tier justice system. If you're going to turn a blind eye to this, then we have to stop indicting former presidents if we're not going to indict this current president. If we're going to continue to turn a blind eye to the nefarious actions of Hunter Biden, then that means we have to turn a blind eye to the nefarious actions of basically any other regular citizen in this country, regardless of whose son you are. And I think the American public are absolutely sick and tired of watching these people get away with literal highway robbery. When is enough enough?
Look, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. This is not a loan, and you don't have to pay it back. The program's complicated, but no one knows more about it than the CPAs and tax pros at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do all the work and share a percentage of the cash they get you. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, even those who took PPP loans and even if you had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Now let covidtaxrelief.org help get you up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. That's covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.